Welcome to 28 and Searching. I'm your host, Samantha, and today I have Daniel Wuliger with me. Thank you, Daniel, for coming on my show.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you currently residing? How old are you? How long have you been in your industry? That sort of thing.
I am in Durham, North Carolina, originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I am 32 years old, and I've been in my industry for around 5 years now, off and on.
Okay, very cool. And so what exactly is your job title, and what does it mean that you do?
I'm a business manager. Actually, I hold many different titles, and they all mean the same thing. So, business manager, finance producer. So, I do the paperwork, state and bank, DMV, so on and so forth, for a vehicle purchase. So, when you come into a dealership, you buy a car, you agree to the numbers. I come out and I speak to you, and then I pull you into my office. We do all your paperwork. I present you a suite of products, and I anticipate a sale each time. And that's what I do.
Okay, so most people in life will probably approach somebody in your position at one point.
If they purchase a car from a dealership, yes.
Okay. And how did you get into that? That sounds, that's kind of a back office job. What kind of steps did you take to get there?
It started off when I was a child, a passion for cars.
Oh.
And throughout my life of just reading, studying, as you would with any passion, learning. And I became a walking encyclopedia when it came to automobiles. And so I put that to good use along with a decent personality and a talkative nature, and I went into sales. And the only thing that made sense for me was to go sell cars. Despite the shady undertones of a used car, new car salesman, I wanted to go out there and do it because I knew that I would be good at it. And I was. Because of the knowledge and because of the fact that I'm approachable. Now, I'm a large person. I'm 6'5". I'm 300 pounds. I'm a big guy, but I look like I'm 12. I sound like I'm. So again, the approachable aspect is definitely a thing I have going for me. But so what did I have to do to get there? I started at Andy Chevrolet in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know if you can say people's names or not, but I was detailing cars there, and I just did that, just as you would any startup job. I think I was about 17 or 18 when I started, and ended up moving up throughout the years. I went over to a Nissan dealership in 2009 and sold Nissans there in Rock Hill, South Carolina, after a big transitional move. So I got really my big start in sales there in terms of the automobile industry, and I liked it. It was about 2 years that I spent there. It was my learning phase. It was kind of one of those sketchy dealerships that you didn't want to be at and didn't want to buy a car from. So
you learned the ropes there.
I learned I cut my teeth at one of those Old West type dealerships where it really was Old West. I mean, people were drinking and it was crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was wild. But so that actually steered me away from the auto industry for a couple of years because I just kind of had enough of it and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I went back into restaurants where I also have a lot of experience in terms of management, bartending, bouncing as well, being a large human.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then a good friend of mine that I've now since made very close friendships, he was working at a Hendrick dealership here in Chapel Hill, where University of North Carolina is, so on and so forth. And he said that they didn't play the smoke and mirrors games. They didn't play any of the other games. It was just a straightforward and really great place to work. So I went up there and I gave it a shot, got hired in their used car department, and did that for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years actually, until I kind of semi-retired and went into the wholesale business on my own, going to auctions, buying cars, selling them on Craigslist, vice versa, just kind of doing whatever I could to make a buck. A little semi-retirement just to test the waters and to see my own business.
Sure.
Decided that I didn't like it and went back to work at Hendrick. Just at a different store under a different market area in just a different type of management. And that's really where I am now got started.
Okay.
So.
Super cool. Okay, so you've kind of been through the string of places, right? So there's a bunch of different type of people that you've worked with and for, and different types of dealerships where they have different arrangements.
Yes.
Okay. And so when you said that you started as a detailer, so you didn't actually start in sales. Is that common for those types of positions to not start at, is the detailer usually the first job that a dealership person will get?
No, but my confidence level, if you will, wasn't up to par with what it needed to be at the age of 17 to go sell cars. And at
Sure.
that point, I was just trying to make, if I was making $10 an hour at that point, I was happy. And I believe that's what it was. It was under the table. It was whatever. It was cash. And I
Yeah.
was able to go out and, have fun with my friends afterward. I always
Okay.
had a strong work ethic. Ever since, 14, I was working bagging groceries. Before that, I pushed my lawnmower around the neighborhood and knocked on people's doors at the age of like 10. So it's earning money and being successful was always something that I wanted, and
Yeah.
it's always something I've deviated throughout the years through different things, but it's always kind of been on the burner.
It
So
sounds like you've been a salesman at heart forever.
you have to be. I tell you what, to be a car person and to do what we do and to work the hours that we work, you have to have it in your heart, and you can't. You have to be born with it. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, I work with a lot of really talented people in a really, really big industry.
Yeah.
And I learn something new every single day that I work. And it's a real blessing.
And so do you like being a finance manager more than the sales on on the lot?
Yes and no. That's a good question. It's actually something I've been going over with myself recently too, because as a car salesman, I got to fulfill my passion and talk about cars and
Mm-hmm.
demo cars, and that's what made me very successful on the sales floor because I was so passionate. We're sitting here talking about cars. I mean, let's do this.
Yeah.
I do this all day for fun. Now I'm selling banks. I'm selling extended service coverages,
Mm-hmm.
products that I also believe in. But the passion still lies with the cars. So do I wish I was selling cars? I mean, at some sort of aspect, I don't know, maybe. But at the same time, I absolutely love the career path that I'm on
Yeah.
with the company that I'm with. And I love what? I don't know. I just love being there. It's
Sure.
weird. Like you hate it, but at the same time, you're like, I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to, I want to be here. I want to be with these people. I want to do what I do and I want to work.
Yeah, I think that's often a common misconception of people is that they believe that because you love your job, everything about it is perfect, and
Yes.
that's not true for anything in life.
Mm-mm. No.
So when you're on the finance manager side of it, do you have to have a degree or any type of training to be able to get to that type of position?
That's a funny and interesting story too. I tell you what. All right, I'll tell you that story because I don't know how much time you have, and if you want to cut me off, just cut me off. But I'm a talker, so let's go.
Sure.
I did not believe in the educational system, quote unquote.
Hmm.
So if you really wanted to nitpick and get into the history and the background of my education, I'd have to say the last grade that I actually completed was the seventh grade.
Okay.
After back and forth in terms of homeschooling, different schools, different attitudes that I had towards life and the things in it led me to different places until finally I was about 16 and I just said, I can't do this anymore. I dropped out, I got my GED and I went to work.
Hmm.
So that was also restaurants. That was the dealership, detailing cars. That was a couple of different kick around jobs, roofing, stuff like that. So in a lot of cases, I put my size to use to go to work.
Yeah.
As I did that, I moved up in each industry that I worked in. So when I was in restaurants, I went on to be a server, I went on to be a bartender, and then I went on to be a manager throughout the years.
Sure.
So climbing that proverbial corporate ladder, if you will, has always been something that I've enjoyed doing
Hmm.
because it's a challenge, and I like to overcome and surpass any challenges thrown at me. So anyway, so education, no, there isn't any. Everything that I've learned, everything that I do, I've either been taught on the job or until recently a whole bunch of journals and YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so would you say that in this industry, with the type of positions that you've held, it's more important for work ethic and personality than it is for education?
Absolutely. I see people come and again, my words will in no way, shape, or form denigrate an education. That's amazing that you've got it. It's amazing that you have it. I put it to use, work with it, go with it, but it's not the only way to make a good living.
Yeah.
So the people that I've worked with, I've seen master's degrees come through the dealership and move on to other things, decide they hate it, go on to do other things. I've seen people from the same educational background that I am, which is lack of, and they come in and they're just as successful. So I work with people making what, $300,000-$400,000 that maybe have a GED.
Yeah.
So it's the auto industry is it's a really good industry to be in. It's very profitable because you're always servicing your car, you're always buying a car, you're always doing this, you're always doing that, and it's one of those necessary evils.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So what would be, if somebody was interested in this, let's say they hear this and they say, you know what, this kind of sounds like me. What would be a good starting point or a good starting job for them to have that would give them a feel for what it would be like?
get on a sales floor immediately. If you want to, it's not so much my job. Like, I'm middle management. All right. There's nothing glamorous about what I do. My job's a grind. What I want, my career path, and if anybody wants to pursue this career path, get on the sales floor, start talking to people, start selling cars, start learning the business, start learning and learn your products, so on and so forth. But yeah, if you want to move up, you go to sales manager, you go to retail operations manager, you go to general manager, market area VP. And for me personally, that's where I'd like to retire from. So that's my 25 to 30 year plan.
Okay, very cool. And so what type of personalities do you think really do well in the auto industry when you're looking at sales or management?
Anyone that you can master. So that might sound weird, but any personality, because as a salesman, you're a chameleon. So you have to do it quickly too, because one minute I'm talking to somebody about a Corvette, and that's $100,000 car, and this guy's an executive vice president somewhere, and then the next, and he wants somebody to talk to him this way, and he wants to talk to somebody about certain things, and then you go and you talk to somebody else who's a family guy. He's buying a truck for him and his family, and he's a blue collar worker like me, and I got to get in there and I got to talk to him on the same level, of course, but in that different way. So you have to be able to shape shift your personality to each client that you have immediately and effectively.
Okay.
So there's also times where, I'm sorry, you
No,
go
no,
on, you think
no, go
that,
for it.
okay, you have, you get about 30 seconds into a conversation, and all of a sudden you realize you have to bounce back to a different personality. I mean, it's definitely a different stressful position. And when you do it in the position that I'm doing now, you only have maybe 5 minutes to get somebody to warm up to you before you start trying to sell them something. On the sales floor, you have 3 or 4 hours, because by the time you're done with it, you've effectively made them your best friend, and they love you. So all of a sudden I come in and I'm the guy who's making the payment go up.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Then that's got to be the harder part, right? Because you're the one
yes,
with the final numbers.
yes.
Okay. And so what's the one personality trait that you think you possess that makes you succeed in your position?
Being able to talk to anybody and everybody about anything.
Sure.
I love people. That's just what it is. Like I actually recently got engaged, and when we first started dating, we drove up to Baltimore, Maryland, with her good friend Becky, and so I was walking out of the gas station. I had already made a friend inside, and Becky looks to Taylor and says, "He'll make a friend anywhere," and that's pretty much what it is. Some guy was standing in line. I started talking to him, and before you knew it, I mean, I think his name was like Carl or something. It was it was good.
Okay.
So.
So on the flip side of that, if somebody is shy, or maybe they're introverted, or maybe they're not capable of holding, like maybe seeing physical or verbal cues, would this not be the type of position for them?
Yes, you're
Okay.
absolutely right about that. And not saying that they couldn't be successful, because like I said, I've seen all types of types be successful. It just would be a very uncomfortable position for them, and they wouldn't enjoy it. So it's, again, not that they couldn't be good at it. It's just that type of personality You have to be outgoing. You have to be talkative. You have to smile no matter what, because people are going to treat you differently. People are going to give you all sorts of different types of objections, and you have to smile at them, and you have to overcome them immediately. And if you deviate any way, shape, or form from your process that you've been trained, you could really throw the deal into a spiral and just kill it.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that'll happen personality-wise.
So what's the worst possible personality trait that if somebody has, they should just stay away from this industry altogether?
Laziness and a lack of work ethic.
Okay. Okay.
If you're not willing to work, you're not going to make a paycheck. And if you don't have a good work ethic, then you're not going to make a paycheck. You have to work, and you have to bust your tail. Otherwise, you will not make a paycheck, and you will starve.
And so what's a piece of or a part of your personality that struggled with where you are, where either you've had to transform the job or transform yourself to be able to be successful?
I have a dark side, and it's laziness, and I have to really overcome it.
Okay.
I'm serious. I can just sit there and do nothing very easily. And unfortunately, that has transferred, not recently, thankfully, but unfortunately in the past, it has transferred into work where I just sat there and did nothing. If you're going to sit there and do nothing, why even show up to work? So that's something that I've been able to overcome, but it's definitely something I have to continuously keep in check.
Okay. And so since you're at management level, you're a finance manager or a business manager, is there a ladder up or a lateral move? I know you talked about some of your 30-year plans. So what would be the steps if somebody's looking to move up from being a manager in the auto industry?
So again, the numbers are going to speak for themselves. So if you want to move up, you have to be the most obvious choice, as we call it within our department. So you're the obvious choice. When there's a position that opens up, well, Daniel Wuliger is going to be the one to fill it, because who else is going to do it besides him? You're being the obvious choice, because you can close, you can do this, you can keep your paperwork tight, you can keep everything straight. So moving upward, like I said, you go into, at least in our market area, I know it's structured differently within the different market areas, which there's many. We have 101 dealerships, I believe it is.
Okay.
And 4 NASCAR teams. So it's
wow.
a very large, it's a large org. It's Rick Hendrick, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt, and then Jeff Gordon.
Sure.
And then the new guys, we all work for the same guy.
Oh, okay.
Amazing man, amazing guy. Anyway, so moving up in my market area, you have sales manager from where I go to next, and then you'll have retail operations manager, which means that you oversee the variable side, which is all of sales, guest services, BDC, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then you'll get into general manager, where you run your own store. So when I say store, that is the one I work at is Hendrick GM South Point. So we're General Motors, which means Cadillac, Buick, GMC, and Chevrolet. So we do service and so on. So the general manager will oversee the entire dealership.
Okay.
Once you do that, you get into market area vice president. And that is where you have, my market area VP has 16 stores. So you run and manage all the general managers, all of their issues. You run that store and all of that's issues, and you have a hands-on, and that's where I want to be, because I really believe I could do a good job doing that. So
sure. And so it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity. If you're somebody that's a go-getter, somebody who wants to move up the ladder, there is that possibility for you to work towards something.
100%.
Okay. Very cool. And so what's the market like for jobs in the auto industry? Is there a lot of jobs available? Is it really competitive to get in, to become a salesperson or a manager? Is it open, or how is that looking, at least from where you're at?
To get into a sales floor, as long as you can get in and convince somebody that you can sell some cars, you can get in and you start selling cars. There are stores that will be more selective, so you'll have higher end stores where you'll have to absolutely have experience. Like Cadillac, they don't really want some new guy to come in and start talking to you about a $100,000 SUV.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can come in and you can cut your teeth on a mid-grade level, a very nice product, and you can get the training that you need. So in terms of competitiveness to get into my position, consider this. There are 60 maybe salespeople within my dealership, and there's 4 finance managers.
Okay.
And the finance managers are only getting promoted or transferred to another store once every year or so. So it took me, I pulled into that dealership, getting that job, getting hired back in Hendrick with the explicit expectation of management in my head. And it took me almost 2 years to do it. No,
Oh,
excuse me, a year to do it.
okay.
So,
Okay. And so what would be some of the drawbacks to your career choice?
the hours, it's on an average day, it's bell to bell. So that's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll get there and then I'll leave. If it's slow at the end of the night, and no one's in the dealership, 8 o'clock. If there's people there, which I'd say about 3 times out of 5 there is, you're leaving at about 10 or 11.
Okay. So it's very, do you guys at least have stable scheduled hours, or is there a lot of switching between, whether you get what days off or?
No, I have a monthly schedule that's given to me probably about 2 or 3 days before the new month starts. I live my life month by month.
Okay.
30 to 31 days, 28 days, 20, however many days. That's month to month. That is what the life is. So before my month ends, I have a new schedule, knowing exactly what days off. It's a pretty steady. If you want to, I believe I'm going back to Thursdays, but that's just because we have a change in personnel. So we have an opportunity open within our dealership for a new finance manager, but I believe that position is being examined as we speak. So.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So what is it also very commission based? I mean, I know a lot of sales positions are commission instead of, good hourly pay. Is that kind of how it's structured where you're at as well?
On the sales floor,
Mm-hmm.
if you're an entry level salesperson, yeah, you're not going to get much of a weekly check or bi-weekly check. I think it's like $400 or $500. It's not a lot. So you get 3 checks. So you get 2 bi-weekly, and then you get a commission check, and that usually comes around the 10th or 11th of every month.
Okay.
And that's from your previous month. So that's how you get, that's your big check. That's why you really have to hustle, because if that check isn't anything, you've taken home $1,000 for that month. And I don't know anybody who can successfully live on $1,000, raise a family on $1,000 a month. I know it's got to be very difficult. So.
Sure. So, and that would be a positive and a drawback, is like you get what you put in kind of thing. So if you're not good at it, it's probably not somewhere you want to stay.
No.
Okay.
So, which is why you have a high turnover rate in my business too,
Okay.
because people come in with the expectation of, okay, I'm going to sell cars, I'm going to be able to afford the big fancy new car that I work at, and I'm going to, sling cars, blah blah blah, and they get in and they see how much work is actually associated with being successful in the industry, that they give up and quit and go do something else.
Okay. Yeah. And so, what has been your worst day so far?
Can I have 2?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first one was at the Chapel Hill store when I was doing the pre-owned. And pre-owned cars, I was strictly doing, I didn't sell any new cars. New cars, you don't have service issues. Pre-owned cars, you have somebody that'll be driving the car for 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe it has 50,000 miles on it, and something happens to where maybe the brakes are not what we thought they checked out to be, or something like that. Not saying it happens a lot, but it's a pre-owned car. You never know what could happen.
Sure.
So, seeing that we recently sold it to them, we're kind of obligated to fix it. There was one day where I had 3 people sitting in my waiting area at work, very, very upset at me. 3 different people with 3 different vehicle issues.
Oh,
and
no.
I went and I greeted every single one of them. I told them I'd get their cars fixed. They didn't want to hear me. It was just very terrible. And I went and I hid in the mechanics bay for a couple hours.
That's not fun at all.
No.
And you were the
left.
salesperson at that point?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I sold a lot of cars there. There was months where I sold maybe 6 to 9, but there were also months. I mean, the biggest month I had there was like 21 cars.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, for that type, for our store, that was good numbers. I mean, it depends on, you go to a Toyota store, you got people selling 40 cars a month. You go to Kia stores or Fiat stores, you have people selling maximum of 5 to 10.
Yeah.
So it just depends. It's all relative. So another bad day was actually at the store that I'm at now. I was on the Chevy side, and I did a great job building rapport and selling the truck. And it was for a Silverado, which is the big trucks that we sell, at least on the Chevy side. And we even popped the hood, and he looked at it because he wanted a V8, and it comes in a V6. All right, and I promised him it was a V8 because I looked at it, he looked at it. I'm a car guy, so naturally I was cocky about looking at it. I looked at it, I said, yeah, no, that's a V8. And I went on, I rolled about it. I just rolled on. And well, he was a guy about my age, but he had his parents there, and they were just kind of there shopping with him. I think it was around the holidays, so he was there with him. However, the story goes. Anyway,
Sure.
He got out of finance, and it was a good deal. Like, we made some decent money. It was a happy customer. It was a really good time. And I had another customer coming in, and like the time worked out perfectly to where I would have sold 2 cars consecutively back to back, which would have made for a fantastic Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, as he's coming out of finance, the father pops the hood, looks at the motor, and said, "Hey, there's only 3 cylinders on each side," because you could tell from the exhaust manifold that there was only 3 cylinders.
Oh no.
And I said, no, there's 4. And he sat there and he counted. He said, nope, there's 3. I said, we needed a V8. And that sent definitely a deal into a spiral. And so as it would go naturally, I lost that deal. And then I had to give my other customer away to someone else as I handled and tried to put out the fire with that deal. I had to give that other deal to someone else, and I only ended up with half a car deal as opposed to 2 full ones.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's gotta be hard because you have to feel like you have to make it right, but at the same time you're watching your money walk away, right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's horrible.
And you put in all the work and all the time and all the effort, one to sell the car, the other to get the people there and to get them going. And I mean, it was emotionally draining that day.
Oh, I bet.
So,
did it happen in like the beginning of the day or the end of the day?
The whole day. It was my entire day.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like I think from like the morning time, because what you do is you have your sales meeting to amp you up on Saturday mornings, do a little bit of training. And then you go and you hit the BDC, which is the Business Development Center. You call and you confirm your appointments. You call and try and make new appointments. You get leads from your BDC manager, which in our case is Paul. Mm-hmm. And not that you would know Paul. But I say like, no, he's just Paul. He's a good guy. No, anyway, he is. But no, so you try and develop more business. But then around noon, inevitably it gets busy. And then you start cranking. And I had 2 appointments, and they were lined up back to back. And like I said, I was very meticulous, and I still am about my time and about my organization of paperwork and all of that. So that's a big thing for me. So I had that all meticulously mapped out, and it failed miserably.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
And so if we look at the happier end of it, what would you say is your best day or best days?
Oh gosh, I got a lot of those. I mean, with the right attitude, every day is your best day.
That's true.
So, best days in the car business. Let's see. Again, at the other dealership, the pre-owned dealership in Chapel Hill, I lined up appointments perfectly and sold 3 cars in one day, and that was beautiful. And I made good money on each of them, and I ended up getting like a nice little what it's called a hat trick, like you would in soccer or football, depending on where you are in the world. Mm-hmm. If you already know, then I apologize, but you score 3, you get a hat trick. So that's what we called it. It was a hat trick, and I got a hat trick that day and made a bunch of money, and it was a good day. So that was a good day. And then other ones where you okay, so just a broad generalization of what a good day is, because there's been many, many, many like this.
Sure.
When you have somebody who comes in and they have their hat in their hand and they have nothing and they can't, like their friend drove them in. They drove in a car that shouldn't have started, and I don't know how it did. Like that wheel should have fallen off 100,000 miles ago, but it didn't. So you're able to put them in a good car. And a lot of times, GM offers some really good incentives, so you're able to do it for a good price, and you make like everything aligns, and they're just like ecstatic and happy and like praising God and, like just really getting into it and having a good time. And it's like when you're able to help somebody and really truly help them, that's an amazing feeling. And you don't get to always feel that way in my business, because a lot of times people will leave angry at you because you did raise their budget, or you did, you did something wrong. And so to have the times where somebody's like truly grateful and thankful, and they send a letter to your GM, and that gets read at the luncheon, and then there's just, I mean, it's a wonder world of just all this amazing things that could happen with a happy customer. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that there's been a lot of people that, even though you know, in your line, there are both happy and sad and angry
yeah,
customers. There's a lot of
yeah,
people that have had that car that was so exciting to get when you
hmm
got it. And I'm sure that's just as exciting for you when somebody finds that.
hmm
And so when we're looking at that, those good days, what would you say are the benefits? So the reasons why people would want to be in this business?
uh, gosh, why you'd want to be in the car business?
Yeah.
The paychecks.
Okay.
That's really, I mean, and again, if you have a passion for cars, because I've driven some really cool cars that like I could never, well, not never afford, but couldn't have afforded at the time that I drove them.
Sure.
Um, so I've been able to do that. So that's been a cool little benefit, but it's the paychecks. I mean, you're not doing this because you like the hours. You're not doing this because it's easy and smooth work. It's because you put the grind in, and out comes a nice little paycheck, and you're happy. And then not that money's everything, because it really isn't. And please don't mistake me for being greedy. It's just I grew up without money, and my parents did a great job raising us. My parents did a great job providing. I never went hungry. I always had clothes. I mean, I had everything that I needed, but there wasn't like a whole bunch of excess money,
Sure.
and it wasn't like there. I heard we can't afford it a lot. And that was I don't know, maybe now I'm sounding definitely like a punk, but it was just tough. So I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to do that to myself. I didn't want to do that to my family. I want to ultimately buy a 100 to 200 acre valley in Colorado Rockies. So that's what I want, and that's not going to come with smiles. That's got to come with money.
Yeah.
So
That's true. Yeah. And
yeah,
and honestly, it's also one of those things that it sounds like in your career, what you put in, you get back, and so you're getting paid to do your work, and you're seeing that increase with how much you're putting into it, which I would assume also feels, when you get that money, it's like a sense of accomplishment almost.
oh yeah, you definitely see your hard work getting paid off. So yeah, and it's immediate return too. I mean, it's a month, but there's a lot of bonuses. So if you sell a car that's an aged unit, so if it's a new car and it's like 365 days or older, which you'll have, you'll have 400-day-old units, stuff like that. If you can sell that, that's like a $400 cash spiff. So they'll just
Okay.
hand you $400 cash, and then of course tax you on your next paycheck. But so like there's a lot of motivation, and again, it's all monetary.
Yeah.
And that's how you get it. I mean, how do you get a salesman to do anything? You pay them. That's
Yeah.
it. If you
That's why it's
like
commission, right? That's how
exactly,
they figured it out.
yeah. Now, little do people know that a good salesman is also incredible at customer service, and you have to be. I mean, obviously, good salesmen know that, but yeah, I mean, customer service is absolutely crucial.
And
So
and would you say that working for a larger dealership is better than a smaller dealership?
yes.
Okay. And does because if it's incentive based, right? It's monetary incentive. Is it? I mean, does that depend on what type of dealership you're working with?
Uh, yeah. I mean, it also depends upon what type of um, what market area you're in. So, I mean, the guy who runs our market area, he holds quarterly meetings where at the beginning of each quarter, we go in and we sit down in this beautiful country club's ballroom, and we have a 8-hour presentation of different business ideas. We go over our numbers, and then there's massive rewards that are handed out to the top performers from the last quarter. And I mean rewards in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, $5,000 watches. So again, you've got sales guys who are hungry for success, and that is a very good incentive for them. So
Yeah. And so and you've in your experience, have you found that the better the incentive, the better the employee?
no,
Okay.
no,
So
I don't know if I can say that,
okay.
but because you get the wrong people coming out here doing the wrong things to get it. And so that's why there's so many rules and regulations in terms of my job now, is because you have people that are sitting there trying to take advantage of good people, and they can, they could be doing it for the wrong money, the wrong reasons, because you don't want dirty money. You don't want bad money. You want honest and hard-earned money. And so yeah, those are bad people, and I wouldn't want them to work with me.
Sure.
So yeah, my business definitely brings out not the best people in the world. But it also brings out some, like I said, some really strong and really talented and really great people. So.
And do you think that's common to have maybe an unsavory work environment at times?
No.
Okay.
Depends on the culture.
Sure.
I mean, this is 2017. You're not going to get away with anything anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
not that you would want to. Again, I mean, if you're doing things ethically, you're not going to have to worry about repercussions that will affect you negatively. So, excuse me. If you, I don't know, I believe I lost my train of thought, and I do apologize.
That's okay. So, do you think that people's perceptions of what car salesmen are, do you think that affects you on any level with whether you decided for this? Did you struggle with doing this as a career because of those perceptions, or did it not bother you?
Did I struggle to make this my career, or did I just struggle within my career?
Did you struggle to decide to make it your career? Like, at any point, did you question being in car sales because of people's perceptions?
I mean, I guess so. There was definitely a thought. You have to think of it, because if you go into it ignorant, then that's going to be a rude awakening, because it's apparent the people's perception of a car salesman every time I deal with somebody, because you have to really just get used to not being trusted, because you're not trusted. People do not trust me. The people I work with trust me because I'm a trustworthy and honorable guy.
Sure.
I have For Honor tattooed on me.
Yeah.
So I just, it's a battle that you have to overcome, but you overcome it, and you do it with a smile. And it's not just, my father always told me, actions speak louder than words. I could tell you something I'm going to do all day long, but if I don't do it, then it's just empty promises and empty words. And I can't do that. Otherwise, then I look like your typical sales guy, and people hate me.
So. Sure. And so do you think you have to almost have thick skin to be able to be successful?
100%. You have to, because it's not just what you're getting from the customer, it's what you're getting from the higher ups.
Sure.
Because when your numbers aren't right, they're going to want to know why. And you don't feed them a lie, and you don't give them the same BS. You tell them what's up, and then you fix it. But within the culture that we have at our dealership, that's a very valuable asset to have, just being able to fix the problem instead of just cutting it. So if you're having a tough time, if you're there's a man I work with, his name was John Green. He's an incredible person. He was a retail operations manager at our store, and then he went down to Alabama for family issues. Mm-hmm. But he told me one time I was having a bad month on the sales floor, and he told me a bad day doesn't make a bad week doesn't make a bad month doesn't make a bad year doesn't make a bad career. You're going to have them. You're going to have bad months, and you're going to have bad times, and you got to have the thick skin to get through them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so do you think it's important to change the perception that people have about becoming a car salesman, so that they kind of understand that it is a professional, honorable career choice?
Absolutely. We need we need more talented people. There's not enough people that get into this business that are truly and exceptionally talented. And not that I am by any means, I just like to talk to people and I'm good at it. But I mean, you've got there's a whole generation of people that are no longer running this industry, or soon to not be running the industry. So you have a lot of people that are in their retirement stage of their career. And again, just as the shift goes up, there's a lot of room for expansion and growth right now within the entire auto industry. It's not just me. I mean, think of the people who have been doing this for the last 30 and 40 years. And if you go to any GM or, Ford or any type of board meeting, it's filled with people who might be retiring soon.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever been to any other board meetings, but.
And so how did your life change when you either found that you loved this career, or when you made the decision to make this your career because you loved it?
How did my life change?
Yeah.
Worked more, played less, had more money. You can pay bills. You can do things. You can start to travel. You can take up golf. You can do stuff. So I mean, when I was waiting tables just to earn rent money. But
Sure.
with a successful sales career, you're making payments on all sorts of other things. Like I drive 2 cars. I have a 2016 2SS Camaro convertible. It's a very fast sports car and it has no roof and it's amazing. Then I also have a nice luxury SUV. It's very old, but it's lovely. I wouldn't be able to do that unless I had a good high-paying job. And sales in the auto industry has given me that.
Sure. And so what was the moment that made you decide to move up and continue in this career path?
It's funny because I declined the position that I'm in now at the other store because I wanted to go try something else, and I didn't think that I wanted the position. And I guess some soul searching on a beach happened, and I realized that I needed to get back into the guidance and direction of a strong sales team. So I guess October 2 years ago is what changed me into saying I need to go back to work. And so that's what I did.
Okay. And is there anything, I know you've told us, your big dream plan, like where you're going and how you're moving up. Is there currently any short-term expansion plans you're kind of looking at that you're moving towards currently? Any training or anything you're kind of doing?
There's something called the EPI, and then there's something called the Chairman's Club. And those are award systems that you can get on as a finance manager. And a Chairman's Club is you go down to the yearly meeting down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you sit in a big banquet hall with Mr. Hendrick, which is always an honor to be with him and hear his wisdom. But you sit there with a whole bunch of other people too, and you just have this amazing meeting, and then you get honored, given a big, beautiful ring, a plaque, a big check, and it's just, it's an amazing honor to have an EPI or a Chairman's Club because, of course, again, the monetary reward, but just to know that your numbers were that solid for that long and consistently that heavy, that you won that award. So, that's what I'm looking for right now. That's my 2 or 3 year goal, because I'm still I've been doing what I've been doing for about a year now, and there's a huge learning curve coming from sales floor to finance. So by no way, shape, or form do I speak as though I know everything about my position that I'm in.
Sure.
But I've been doing this for long enough. I feel I can talk about it. But so that's what I want to do before I get into sales manager, because I would like to run a team, and I would like to lead a group of people into a sales success. But I want an EPI first. I want that ring on my finger, because that's your championship.
Yeah.
For me, that's my Super Bowl, at least for now, because there's so many different awards, and there's so many different goals that I can get and I can reach and I can have. And it's really exciting because it really keeps you motivated and excited about what you do, despite how hard it is and how much you might hate it. It really keeps you motivated and going. And again, reward a salesman, and he's going to do whatever you need.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've kind of gone through what it means to be a finance business manager in a car dealership. I just have a few more questions for you. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
A salesman.
You wanted to be as a child?
When I was in 5th grade, I went to business day or whatever the hell it was at Roxborough Elementary School in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And I dressed up in a suit and tie and with a briefcase because I wanted to be a salesman.
That's amazing. I'm sorry, but I totally got a flashback of a Michael Scott moment from The Office where he's, that kid with the suit and everything.
Yes.
That's what I picture when you say that.
That's it.
That's pretty awesome.
I'm living the dream every day.
You're living the dream. And so what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received about business?
Man, I don't know. It's not that I haven't received any. It's just I've received so much because I've worked for some incredible people and I've learned some amazing things from them. I guess most recently it was God, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's tough to narrow it down because, like I said, I've gotten so much. The whole "be you" speech, just be who you are because you have it in you. I mean, that's some real motivational stuff. I mean, they're your numbers. If you don't like them, change them. That was pretty big because I'm sitting there. You can sit there and blame anybody else for your numbers, but they're not gonna change them for you. If you want your numbers changed, go in there and change them. And as trivial as that may sound, that's probably the hardest thing that you can overcome because it's so easy to fall into a victim shit, like a victimhood, whatever. You just become a victim. I'm sorry, there's the lack of education right there for you if I knew that. But so anyway, it's so easy to become a victim in my industry and expect other people to correct your wrongs and to make you successful for you. So, yeah, you have to really not do that. So that was a tough one to get. And then again, a bad day doesn't make a bad week, and a bad week doesn't make a bad month. That was big.
Yeah.
I really appreciated him saying that. So, like I said, I learned a lot from him. And my current general manager, Larry, he's a really motivational guy too. So.
Okay. And so if somebody was looking at going into this career path, what would be a piece of advice that you would give them to encourage them to do it?
So to encourage them to do it, just work hard. Have a hungry mentality and have a good attitude every single day. If you can have those three things, if you can just have a good attitude and really want it and be willing to work for it, you will absolutely crush it. And you'll be phenomenal. I tell all these new guys that come in. And it's like, it's funny. I'm 32. I never thought I would look at somebody who's 21, 22 and think, gosh, you're so young. Because when I was that age, I was like, yeah, I own the world. But you get these guys that come in and, they're just killing it with talent and potential. And you just see it. And sometimes they don't. And that's pretty frustrating. But telling them that they really do have it in them and that they really can be successful. I mean, that's because you really can do it. If you're willing to take the step into being a salesman, I mean, that's the first step. Because here's the thing, if you're selling yourself as something every single day, you're selling either yourself or somebody else something every single day. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that you're not a salesman and you can't sell cars or you can't sell things, then you're selling me on why you can't sell something. So you're always selling. Everybody is selling always, all the time. I do not turn it off. It does not happen. And neither does anybody else ever. You sell.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty good advice. So thank you for coming on my show today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me and letting me just talk because, again, that's what I love to do.
If you like this episode or you're looking to change your career, go to 28andsearching.com or become a patron to get exclusive content sent directly to you. See you next week.